El-Sayed. You know we got him. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White Wednesday edition. It's just me and the Queen, Attorney Vanessa Moss. How you doing?
I am doing well, Adolph. Good to see you. And listen, I want to give a shout out to all those that are watching us on YouTube or any of the other social media platforms, as well as Facebook. Listen, if you are joining us tonight, we not only want you to join us in the comment section, we want you to use this QR code and join us. We're going to have a guest tonight, but this is what we want you to do: like, subscribe, and share. It's free. It costs you nothing. Just a little bit of energy. Like, subscribe, and share. And tell all your friends about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. Like, subscribe, and share. Join in the comment section or use that little QR code and join us.
Right. Just like old times. Just like
know.
Just like 9, 10 a.m. We had the hottest show on the weekend. Well, really on the station. I don't know about other bullshit.
Right.
Yeah. So we back. How cold is it in Detroit?
Oh, listen, do you remember that song? You probably don't. It's so cold in the deep. They're really talking about how cold people are, but it is cold. When I got back in on Monday, the turbulence was so bad. The wind was blowing so hard. All of us on the plane we were looking at each other. I was terrified. I couldn't wait to get off that doggone plane. It's cold, and it's supposed to be colder tomorrow. So you're somewhere warm. Enjoy the warmth. Don't come back until April.
Well, I wish I could come back until April, but that's not to be. I got business to take care of in the Motor City, but it's I had to go to Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
For a couple of days, and it was cold. It was cold there.
No.
I was able to go to visit Central High School.
Oh, wow.
The Little Rock 9.
Yeah.
That when they built that high school in 1927, it cost $1.5 million. And just imagine that's $20-30 million today. Right. It was the largest school in the country. This school is so large, man. It's 3 floors. It's on 16 acres of land.
Wow.
Across the street, there's a gas station that is a historical building. That's where the federal troops and the National Guard was stationed at. It was right in the neighborhood.
Let me ask you this: is the gas station still operating?
No, it's like a museum.
Plaque and all of that there.
And they built a welcome center right across from the school. Man, you have to look at this school. The school was humongous. I had been there before, way back in the day when I was just a young guy, but it was good to see the school and get information on the students. They still got some problems. They got about 2,000 to 3,000 students still. But just a slight majority black with white population and a large Asian population. They say it's 2 schools in one.
Wow. You said it's a large Asian population?
And the Asians and the white kids are in all AP classes, all honors classes, and the black students are in regular classes. And that's been an issue with the schools. But anyway, and Little Rock went to Bill Clinton library, the center.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing center.
Oh
It's a
wow.
big, it's in an area. I mean, it's a laid out. That was something else.
Oh, I
A
can't
little.
wait. Did you take pictures? Did you take pictures?
Yeah, I took some pictures
Okay,
and
good.
stuff.
I can't wait to see him. Our guest is backstage.
Okay, who was our guest?
He's running for Senate from Michigan, Mr. El-Sayed. How are you?
How
I
you
am
doing?
well. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate being here with you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on. The first question I have is, do you think Bernie Sanders' endorsement will help your campaign?
I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have sought it. This is a guy who's been super consistent about the fight for healthcare, about the fight against huge corporations and oligarchs, and who's been fighting the good fight to try and build an America where everybody gets the basic dignities of a life. Now, I'm not Bernie. We're different people, and my background is as a physician and an epidemiologist, Detroit's health director who brought back the health department after it had been shut down when the city faced bankruptcy, former health director of Wayne County. And then I've got other endorsements too, folks like the Wayne County executive, the mayor of Flint, and a number of others, 77 other folks to be exact. So we're trying to build a coalition of folks, people who understand we got to get money out of politics, put money back in people's pockets, and pass Medicare for all.
Well, the media here, the mainstream media already uncrowned a candidate, saying that she's the person to beat. How do you look at your campaign so far?
I mean, we're running the strongest campaign in Michigan. Media is going to say what the media is going to say, right? Talkers are going to say what the talkers are going to say. They're going to tell you how I can't win because my name's Abdul and because I pray like this instead of praying like this. But, I've been up and down the state. I've been to 70 different cities now, 200 public events, and people don't ask how I pray. They ask what I pray for. They don't really care about my name. They care that I care to know their name. And we're building a campaign built on ideas and ideals, right? The thing that you get with me is I've run before. And when I ran last time, I said the same thing I'm saying this time. Donald Trump himself is not the disease of our politics. He's just the worst symptom of the disease of our politics. The disease is the system that allows huge corporations and billionaires to buy and sell politicians to do their bidding instead of ours. And I think people know when it comes to me, I'm going to keep fighting for the same things. I didn't intend to be a politician. I wanted to be a doctor. And I did that until you start to get really curious about why people get sick in the first place. And you start to ask, all right, what is it about the way we structure our society that too many babies have to breathe dirty air, too many kids have to drink dirty water, people go to schools that haven't been invested in for the past 30 years, that you can't get healthcare in this country unless you are rich enough to be able to afford it out of your pocket. Because even if you have insurance, you're still paying $4,000 in a deductible. So, I'm trying to take those issues on. People understand that I've been about the same thing for a long time. So I feel pretty strong, and we're raising good money, right? If you can choose between one millionaire and $1 million from them or a million people each with $1, I take the million people each with $1. And that's how we're building a campaign.
Dr. El-Sayed, good to see you again. I met you in 2016 when you were running. I ran for Congress. Of course, I did not prevail, but I got myself out there. So at that time, Bernie Sanders was supporting you, and I must say you ran a pretty good race. But I think it's important for our viewers to know about some of the things that you've done working with the Detroit Health Department. Would you expound on that and talk about the glasses and talk about the 300, I think it's over 30 families or whatever that would benefit from having to pay medical bills. Could
Yeah.
you talk to our guests about that?
Yeah. So I really appreciate you, and I'm grateful for the race that you ran and the work that you've been doing. I rebuilt Detroit's health department after it had been shut down, right? Folks from the city probably remember Herman Kiefer. Chances are, if you're older than a certain age,
I was born in Harm
there you go. I was going to say, if you're of a certain age, the chances are you were probably born in Herman Kiefer. And back in 2012, when the city was facing bankruptcy under the terrible reign of Rick Snyder, they forced it to shut down. I was hired to rebuild it, and we rebuilt it around the well-being of kids. We did things like guarantee every child a free pair of glasses delivered at school within 2 weeks of a vision test. And we did that because we found that 30% of the kids who'd get tested for vision deficits would come back testing again next year, meaning like we knew they needed glasses and nobody got them a pair. From the date we brought that program to the city of Detroit, it's expanded across the state. They've done 50,000 pairs of glasses statewide. After the Flint water crisis, we had all of our schools, daycares, and Head Starts tested for lead in the water. And the first 68 we tested, 19 of them tested positive for lead, and we got them on a pathway to being lead free. I helped to rewrite the state's lead policy after that. We took on Marathon Petroleum. Anybody who's ever driven 75 down the southwest of the city has seen Marathon and the smokestacks and smelled the smell that comes into your car. That's sulfur dioxide. There was too much sulfur dioxide in the air, and yet it didn't stop Marathon from trying to get a permit to put more in the air. So we started to work with the community, and we forced them to invest $10 million to reduce their emissions when they had wanted to increase them. More recently, I've been serving Wayne County under County Executive Evans, leading health, human, and veteran services. We put 100 air quality monitors all over Wayne County so you could get real-time information about the air you breathe. We put Narcan in vending machines for free all over Wayne County as well, 100 different locations. And we set aside the ability to eliminate up to $700 million in medical debt for 300,000 people for a penny on the dollar. So $7 million to erase $700 million. And that's all work that has been about one central goal, trying to improve health and trying to address the ways that poor health can lead to intergenerational poverty and intervene there. And that's been the work that I've been about my entire career. Beyond that, I wrote the book that you see over here to my right, Medicare for All, A Citizen's Guide, how we would actually guarantee healthcare in this country. And I aim to get that done when I'm in the U.S. Senate.
Listen, how would you grade our two senators, Alyssa Sockland and Gary Peters?
Yeah, look, I've maintained a good relationship with both of them. There are going to be issues on which we disagree, right? I come at this question of how we should build our government focused on the question of health and human services, and they have different backgrounds for themselves. There are obviously going to be issues on which we're going to vote differently. But when it comes to trying to bring back money to the state, trying to build our infrastructure, trying to empower our businesses, trying to grow our capacity and our state, you're going to see us locked arm in arm. And so, you know, it's hard to judge a different public servant in their own role. You don't really know what they're facing. But I'll tell you that for me, you know, my big issue is always going to be the health and well-being of Michiganders. It's the thing that I got into public service to do. And obviously, you know, people don't know this. I'd be the first doctor who's a Democrat in the U.S. Senate since 1969. There has never been a former public health official in the U.S. Senate. And so I bring a unique skill set that, you know, other senators, frankly, no other senator has brought to the U.S. Senate. And I think we could use some of that right about now, given all that we're seeing from RFK Jr. and the pulling back of healthcare subsidies just because Donald Trump doesn't like Barack Obama.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. He's recommending fewer vaccines. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's crazy. I mean, you guys are, you know, probably just a bit older than me, and you probably knew people who are still suffering the consequences of polio. In my generation, we didn't have that. You know, it's because of vaccines. And you know, I'll tell you this: my family immigrated from Egypt. Okay, and I have an aunt and uncle I never got to meet. My grandmother, smartest, wisest person I've ever met in my life. She gave birth to 8 kids. 2 of them died before their first birthdays. Both died, as far as we know, of vaccine-preventable diseases. That didn't happen to me because I was vaccinated before I knew what a vaccine was. And there was a time in this country where we understood that the miracle of vaccines saved a lot of lives. And I think right now they've been a victim of their own success. You know, we don't see a lot of these diseases, so we wonder, like, why do we do this? Well, we do this so we don't see a lot of these diseases. And now you're making recommendations from the guy who decides to go swimming in the creek that they literally said had too much bacteria in it. And, you know, if this is the guy who's making our public health policy, well, you know, we're going to get some really broken public health policy. And this is where we are right now.
So it seems to me that, you know, we always talk about, I mean, you're talking about the lead in the schools, glasses, and we're talking about people that are on the lower rung of the ladder, if you will, you know. But it's the middle class, in my estimation, that's really suffering. You know, we're talking about higher costs for medical needs, taxing up the wazoo, where you get breaks to the, you know, the rich people. What are you going to do to attract people like myself, the middle class? Because, you know, a lot of us, especially in the city of Detroit, there's more renters than it is homeowners. You know, people are constantly crying about, I mean, the prices. And I know you can't, as an individual, solve all these issues. But what is your plan? What would you like to see done?
You know, Ms. Moss, when I ran last time, I said this thing that Donald Trump is not himself the disease. He's just the worst symptom of the disease. And if we're serious about building the kind of America where middle income people can actually live a life of dignity, can afford the basic needs of their lives, then we have to address the ways that corporations have used their power to buy off politicians to make our lives harder. The perfect example here in Michigan is DTE, right? I don't have to tell you all about DTE. My power goes out 2-3 times every year for like 3 or 4 days at a time, but I pay more than I did 4 years ago. In fact, our electricity rates have gone up faster than in 46 states over the last 20 years. Now, that's no coincidence because DTE is the biggest single spender on Michigan politics. Just last week, I got a letter from DTE that for the privilege of getting to use a credit card to pay my electricity bill, they're going to charge me $3 extra. I'm like, this is a cash grab. Y'all make way too much money to be charging people $3 because they used a credit card, right? But like, go ahead.
And you know, the problem with that is a lot of people are not are unbanked, as we say.
Yeah.
And so people don't have credit cards, and it's not as if you can go to a facility to go, a building to go and pay your bills. They tell you go to a grocery store or you have to pay it online. And so they're making money hand over fist. That is ridiculous. But I think that the voters have to understand, not only does it matter who we have representing us in DC, but the governor has the power to appoint people on that doggone board that makes decisions about how much we're going to pay in terms of our electric bills. And I don't think a lot of people understand that or even know that.
Well, let's take a break and come back with Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
One question I wanted to ask you, with all that's going on in Gaza and Israel, has this been an issue in the campaign for you?
Yeah, it has. I mean, look, at the end of the day, let's just be honest about this. You know, we in our country have this bad habit of sending all of our money abroad to buy tanks for other countries while people don't have money in their bank here at home. And, you know, $22 billion to subsidize a genocide over there that could have been spent here on our kids, on our schools, on our hospitals, to do things for our own kids. And so it comes up. And look, at the end of the day, I've been clear about the fact that I just think everybody deserves the right to peace, dignity, and self-determination. And right now, our country is sending our money abroad to, in effect, subsidize a group of people who want to deny peace, dignity, and self-determination for Palestinian people. And I just think that's wrong. And it comes up consistently in this race, largely because I've got an opponent who's been taking huge amounts of money from AIPAC, which is a special interest organization funded by MAGA billionaires with one express goal, which is to backstop the foreign policy of right-wing ideologues in Israel. And I just don't think that they should have that kind of chokehold on our politics.
Is that a point? Is that Jocelyn Benson?
You know, I'm focused a lot more on my race. And I know that my position is not necessarily shared by all Democrats. And that's why I'm running, because I think Democrats need to get serious about the fact that if we say we're the party that stands against war, we got to stand against war. It's just that simple.
Well, there's a lot of Israelis that is against what's going on in the Gaza, and you know they don't play that up like everybody else, and we have heated discussions sometimes on this show about whether or not we should be sending billions of dollars to Israel, and they have a prime minister that's just as bad as the president we got in Washington D.C. You know, they birds of a feather.
That's exactly right. And look, you know, I endorsed Vice President Harris in the last election. And I endorsed her because I understood that whether you saw this election from the eyes of a child in Detroit, which was my responsibility as Wayne County's health director at the time, or you saw it from the eyes of a child in Gaza, Donald Trump would have been worse. And unfortunately, that's what's played out. And at the same time, I also endorsed the uncommitted movement back in the primary because I wanted this party to get right with its position when it came to whether or not our tax dollars should be spent abroad dropping bombs on other people's children. This is one of those situations right now, though, where we got to be honest. I remember back in 2008, I was so proud. It was my second presidential election, and I was so proud to vote for a guy named Barack Obama, who had the guts to stand up against a stupid war in Iraq. And I wish that our party had the courage to do the same now. 17 years later, we got to ask ourselves, how do we become the party of war again? I think we got so much more work to do. Now, one of your commenters just noted the funding obligated to Egypt. I stand against that too. I come at this from principle. I don't think that we pay our taxes here to send money to foreign militaries there, and I think we could start with Egypt. I don't think we should be subsidizing the Egyptian military. In fact, I spent a lot of my childhood summers in Egypt, and I saw how that money didn't make the Egyptian people any richer or any freer. All it did was cemented the hand of a foreign military dictatorship against its own people. So yeah, Ms. Stephanie, we should start with taking that money away from the Egyptian military. And I think we should take it from the Israeli military and the Jordanian military and the Pakistani military and Saudi Arabian military and all of them, because I just don't pay my taxes so other people get tanks. I pay my taxes so my kid gets schools.
That we have a viewer who I'm going to go to some of their comments, and these comments are their comments. Just like what I have to say is my opinion. My question is same for Adolph. We have a Terrence Flint. He says, you're only doing this for the black vote. Then, you know, he says something else. Mr. Good.
Let me speak to that. You know,
Okay.
I grew up as a kid. I was raised by my dad, who's an Egyptian immigrant, and my stepmom, Jackie, who's a daughter of the American Revolution from the middle of the state of Michigan. I've been explaining myself to myself and to everybody my whole life, right? You don't get to be named Abdul and, you know, look like I do and not have to explain yourself.
Right.
And when I sought to learn my own history and where I sat in this country, you know, I turned to who I read. I read folks like Alex Haley and W.E. Du Bois and Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. And I came to understand both the privileges I had as a kid who's a child of immigrants and also what it meant to be a person of color in America. And my whole career has been about trying to address that we see in our health. You know, I left a tenure track job at Columbia University to come to the city of Detroit to rebuild a health department. All of my work has been about trying to think about how do we empower babies, right? Babies in communities like Detroit. So when he says it's about the vote, I think he's mistaken. I think it's about the people, right? And that has been a commitment I've shown up for consistently in my life. Frankly, I could have a much easier life if I never ran for office. Let's be clear, right? I'm choosing to do this because, frankly, the smartest person I ever met in my whole life never got to go to school, as my grandmother. And you start to appreciate that so much of what I had is a function of opportunities I got that were denied to children living 15 minutes from me. I could go 15 hours to Egypt when I was a kid and travel 10 years difference in life expectancy. I could go 15 minutes from where I grew up in Oakland County into the city and travel the same gap. And I became a doctor to solve that. It's the same reason I came back to rebuild the health department in Detroit. It's the same reason I'm running for office now. So, you know, folks can question my intentions, but I would encourage you to go back and take a look at my work. It speaks for itself.
Well, people, you know, anybody with any sense that's running for a statewide office will want to come into Detroit and cities like Saginaw, Flint, and get the vote. Um, would Mike Duggan independent campaign for governor hurt the turnout in the Democratic primary?
You know, I think the bigger question is, do we have a candidate at the top of the ticket who can speak to the needs of folks beyond the broadest talking points? And the thing that I tell you is, if we're not speaking truth to power, both in the Democratic and the Republican Party, is going to be hard to get folks to come out. I think people are sick and tired of Democrats who aren't willing to tell the truth about the frustrations they have with the Democratic Party. And I happen to be one of them. You know, you all watched my 2018 race. I'm not the party favorite, right? You talk to the folks in the establishment, they're not all like, oh, Abdul's great, right? They disagree with my positions on corporate money because I don't take it. I'm the only Democrat in this race who won't take it, right? And I call them out left, right, and center. And so at the end of the day, my job is to go and have a conversation with the people who have been locked out of our politics. So I actually don't think it really quite matters who's on the ticket in the gubernatorial space. I know I can have a conversation with folks who feel locked out of our politics, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Are you getting any support from people inside the party?
I am getting support from folks all over the state. And, you know, even, you know, as you travel the state, you have conversations with folks, you start to realize that people are sick and tired of losing. And the game that Democrats too often play is they take corporate money to come to people to try and tell them what they think they want to hear. And then it doesn't really work out. And how long are we going to keep running against Donald Trump without actually talking about what we're for? And so we're running a campaign where we stand up for what we are for. And that's inspiring a lot of folks across the spectrum to come out and support this race. We're honored to have earned 77 endorsements in the race. Folks like the Wayne County Executive, Warren Evans, folks like Mayor Sheldon Neeley in Flint, folks like the mayor of Marquette or the mayor of Saugatuck. It's a broad coalition of people who want to come out and be a part of what we're building, and we're proud of that.
Well, we have a comment from one of our viewers, Par Orgs. He says that you bought the Detroit Health Department back, but Detroit has one of the highest HIV, STD, STI rates in the country. In fact, you, Denise Ferrazzo, Star Allen Petway, and Dr. Gretchen Newman have all failed to issue a public service announcement about this obvious and apparent public health crisis in Detroit. You failed to keep Detroit healthy and free of disease, and now you're asking us to send you to Congress. What do you have to say to that comment?
I think I would encourage the listener to check the record, right? We talked a lot about that. In fact, when I started, there was no Detroit Health Department, right? There wasn't one. And my job was to literally rebuild it from the shell of a nonprofit that was created when they ended the health department in 2012. And one of the first big issues that we took on was the STI crisis. And in fact, this was 10 years ago now, we were making really, really good progress. Of course, the challenges haven't been fully addressed. Of course, there are still significant challenges all over the country, right? We've never eradicated a lot of STIs and STDs, and we got a lot of work to do. But I will tell you that, when you think about where Detroit was then, before it has a health department back, to where it is now, the kind of services that are on offer, I'm really quite proud of the fact that we've made significant progress, and there's more to do. And I will tell you this, as a country, we don't do enough when it comes to public health. And I think part of that is because we haven't had doctors in the Senate who are thinking about the kind of public policy to actually empower and invest in public health agencies like the one in Detroit. And so part of what I'm hoping to do is be able to take this issue on at the federal level and make sure organizations, be they in Wayne County or in Detroit, have the ability to take these issues on their own.
We have another viewer, Mr. Duckett. Good evening, Mr. Duckett. He says, how can you leverage the office of senator to improve the quality of life for Detroit citizens?
Yeah, I really appreciate Mr. Duckett's question. I think number one, we've got to get money out of politics. We've got to make sure that corporations can't keep buying politicians. So those politicians do the work of rigging the system for those corporations. They get richer and the rest of us get poorer. To me, it's about investing in a small business kind of oriented economy rather than continuing to chase huge corporations, having this race to the bottom with other communities where we throw tax subsidies at them. Instead, we're invested in the well-being of a small business ecosystem where folks can go out, build generational wealth, and invest in their own communities. I also think that we, in order to do this, got to get serious about making sure that we have the revenue to be able to build out high quality public services. And to me, that means taxing billionaires. Because here's the thing, if I tax a billionaire 8%, you know what they still are? Still a billionaire, right? Their kids are going to be rich. And I think we could use some of that money to build schools for all of our kids. And I also want to guarantee healthcare for everybody. So the question was brought up about STIs and STDs. You know what one of the problems is that you can't just walk into any clinic and get that kind of care in America, because too often people are either on Medicaid, walking into clinics that don't accept it, or they're uninsured in the first place. I want to make sure every single person in this country has guaranteed healthcare without having to worry about how they're going to pay for it. That is something I know we can do. I literally wrote a whole book about how to do it, and that would benefit folks in communities like Detroit more than anyone else.
We have Eric Brown, who has his own show on Detroit Black and White called Reality Strike, and he is passionate about education. He says the hot button issue right now is everyone speaking about the educational crisis that has long been ignored. What do you have to say regarding this decades-long crisis?
Yeah, well, let's be clear about what the problem is. We don't fund enough. And part of the reason we don't fund enough is because we still rely on property taxes to fund schools. And let's just talk about it. Let's call it what it is. We've had a history of redlining in this country for a very long time that suppressed the property values of communities of color. And when that happened, and if we continue, when that happened, what happened is you suppress property values, you suppress the property taxes that can be pulled out of predominantly Black communities. And if you continue to fund education based on property taxes, which is based on property values, all you're doing is porting the consequences of redlining into the future. If schools are supposed to be the engine of social mobility, by definition, we're failing to actually solve the problem. So to me, you need more funding, and you need more equitable funding so that every single kid gets the same access to a high quality school like I did, right? I got to go to an amazing public school 20 minutes north of the city of Detroit. The fact that not every kid gets that is itself an abomination, and we need to fix that. We've got an opportunity, in fact, in this state right now through a program called Invest in My Kids, which is a program that would tax the wealthiest people. I'm talking about people who make, individuals who make $500K or more, or families that make $1 million or more, to invest in a fund to invest in schools and teachers. And I think we should be doing that because I think, if we're serious, especially in this AI moment, if we're serious about empowering our kids, we've got to get a lot more serious about funding their schools.
Now, the governor is term limited. Is she leaving the state in good shape? What are your take on her 8 years in office?
Well, obviously, I ran against Governor Whitmer, and she had to govern through some of the most challenging moments in the state's history. You think about the COVID pandemic, the economic challenges that came out of that. That was a really, really challenging circumstance. And I believe that she did the best she could. And, and I think that there are a lot of things that she can point to. She has really good reason to be proud of. But I learned in public service a long time ago, like I said, that it's really difficult to judge another public servant because you just don't know what situations they were dealing with as they were dealing with them. But I got all respect for the effort that she put in and the consequences in terms of the projects that they got across the finish line.
If you win the nomination and get elected governor, what is your priorities in your first 6 months in office?
He's not governor. You run for Senate, right?
Sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. You ran for governor, for the Senate. I'm sorry.
Yep. Look, my number 1, 2, and 3 priorities are money out of politics, money in your pocket, Medicare for all. So to me, when it comes to money out of politics, it's moving forward on legislation to ban corporate contributions in American politics, right? I also want to ban things like 527s and super PACs, all these ways that money moves to corrupt our politics. When it comes to money in your pocket, it's passing the PRO Act, standing with unions. It's investing in small business revolving loan funds. It is moving forward on rebuilding our tax system. And then, of course, is Medicare for all. And then finally, right, the point that we cannot ignore is that our country needs to get right when it comes to standing up for the rule of law, both at home and abroad. And right now we're watching as this president is trying to take Greenland, and we can't afford our health care. He is weaponizing ICE on peaceful streets, shooting people in the face. And I think that has become a level 5, alarms blaring situation for the future of our democracy, right? When you got a paramilitary force that's answerable only to one man who is using the idea of immigration to weaponize against the Constitution itself, I think that's a real emergency. I called for it back in 2018. I think we need to abolish ICE. And I think we need to rethink how we engage in immigration enforcement from the first place. I was in Minneapolis earlier this week. I wanted to go and see for myself what the consequences were. That's living in a city under siege. It feels like a war zone. And that's because our own government has declared war on a Midwestern city. I just think that's insane. And so I do think that there's going to be a lot of cleanup that has to be done, a lot of accountability that has to be held when it comes to this administration. I look forward to doing that.
Don't you think we need a Democratic Senate to get some of that stuff done?
Yeah, we do. And, I intend to hold the state of Michigan. I think we've got some pickup opportunities across the country, and I'm looking forward to stepping into a majority Senate where we can actually get some good work done.
Well, you have a couple of fans on here. Sarah Khan says that you wrote 2 wonderful books, and she recommends that we read those books. You have Manira Salim says, as Black people, we have the highest rate of chronic diseases like chronic kidney disease. We need Medicare for all. My family doesn't need to decide between paying for medications or bills. And I think that's one of the things that you're running on. Am I correct?
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
We also have Terrence. What did Terrence say? Terrence Flynn, he is, I don't know if he's a troll or what, but he's been attacking you all evening.
He seems really upset. I feel like Terrence woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
Well, somebody sent him over here. So you know.
That's what I think. Par Orcs asks, all of you have been quiet on the issue of high disease rate in Detroit. Why?
I don't think we've been quiet at all. I mean, it's the work I set my my life up to try and address. You don't come to a city, rebuild their health department, and lead on public health because you want to be quiet about the disease rates in a city. So, again, check the record.
And I understand where Power Oil coming from, and there's folks that but it is what it is. The city, we got a mayor and we got a city council. I think a lot of that falls on them too, not just on somebody that's running the health department. If somebody want to join your campaign, help out, give you money, tell us, how do they go about doing it?
So unless you're Terrence Flynn, you should go to abdulforsenate.com.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And follow us on social media at Abdul El-Sayed. That's ABDULEL-SAYED. And Terrence, if you decide to wake up on the right side of the bed tomorrow, you're welcome to. We're building a movement of joy and hope and trying to get some things right. And look, if I'm elected, I know I'm gonna be one U.S. senator out of 100, and I know that that there are a lot of problems we got to take on. But I gotta be honest with you. I think it starts by deciding that you're going to put yourself into trying to solve those problems. And that's what we're trying to do in this race. And so I hope folks will get involved and get invested. We're hoping that you'll be a part of what we're trying to do. We're going to be knocking doors all over the state. We've already got 2,000 volunteers doing the work every single day. And, I'll tell you is we try to lead with the joy of the world we're trying to build, right? One where people can afford the basic means of a dignified life. They're not worried about how they're going to afford their groceries or the quality of the school their kid goes to or the quality of the air that they breathe or the water they drink or whether or not they can see a doctor. And so we're excited. We do have a Detroit campaign office. We work out of the Dabo offices. We're going to be doing a big campaign kickoff in February. I hope that folks excited will come join us. And you'll find that this is a movement that brings folks from all walks of life together, and has been a great joy to get to be a part of it and get to meet all of the folks who are being a part of it. So I hope that folks will go to abdulforsenate.com, follow us on socials, and I'm looking forward to getting to meet you.
Okay, well, hope to have you back.
I would love that.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. Thank you.
Mr. Adolph and Ms. Vanessa, I really appreciate you all, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, we have to do it again. And as we get closer to election, we need you to come back on here and tell us about what's happening on the campaign trail.
I'll look forward to it.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. right. We had a lot of comments. Terrence Flynn, I'm like, I don't know if he a troll or what, but he was going in.
You say I was a sellout?
Some of them. He has some fans, Sarah Khan, and uh, you also have Manira Salim. I want to say good evening, though, to those people that have decided to join us this evening. First of all, I want to tell you thank you for joining us, because you could be doing something else, but you decided to watch the greatest show on these YouTube streets, and you decided to comment. Now, you know that you could comment, but you could also use that link that's sitting at the top of the screen there, and you can join us in the studio. Terrence Flynn, thank you for watching Detroit in Black and White. Eric Brown, thank you so much. Tracy Huff, thank you so much. Dewela Boyce, Stephanie Jackson, Jill, thank you so much. Power Orgs, thank you for your commentary. D. Bragg, thank you so much. There was a conversation about his net worth. Mr. Duckett, thank you so much for commenting. Also want to tell Sarah Khan, thank you so much. And I think I may have everybody. Oh, you know what, Janet, overall, thank you so much. And thank you for, always following the assignment. Like, subscribe, and share. And she has shared Detroit in Black and White with all her people. Thank you so much. We also have, who else?
But I want to say something. He said he works out of Davo. We just got a comment. That means that, Reverend Horace Sheffield runs Davo. Right. He endorses Jocelyn Benson. Mm-hmm. Dr. El-Sayed is working out of Davo. And probably Mayor Sheffield herself probably go with Duggan. That is fascinating.
It is fascinating. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's what your prediction is that she'll go with
listen, he was right there with her. Half of his staff is still there.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
So someone just said that he does not work out of Davo.
Okay.
Nation says hello.
Maybe so. We need to find out. Let's take a break and come back and continue. Detroit in Black and White of Vanessa Moss. I'm Adolph Mongo. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Well, we're back, Detroit Black and White, our Wednesday evening edition. Manira Salim says, being endorsed doesn't mean he works out of that place. Mr. 1213 says Sheffield will probably go with Jocelyn. Miss Sheila says we're hoping Mr. Mike Cox support D fraud as he mentioned he will. And Dominique, thank you so much for joining us this evening. She said thank you very much. Good info. You know what? I want to go back to something that we talked about on Friday. And was it Friday or Saturday? I forgot. I think it was Saturday.
Yeah, I wasn't on the show Saturday.
But there was a conversation going back and forth with Alan, and he was talking about ICE in Minneapolis, and he's talked about how this Black family, was trapped between the protesters on one side and the other side, and something about a smoke bomb and the baby stopped breathing. But he was saying all that, I felt like, to incite Black folks and want Black folks to get involved in this protest. And so we went back and forth, and I have to say, I still stand on the same principles that I've thought about it. I'm always doing, I always go back and think about the things that I've said. that is the media. Those people were on their way home. They were not protesting. They did not want to, they were minding their own black business, as far as I'm concerned. They was going wherever they were going to go. And so to me, for the media to use that and say, well, this is a black family, so you need to be concerned about it. I have a problem with I have a problem with the media using black folks in that sense. It is propaganda. And again, I stand on it. It doesn't, for a lot of people have said in the black community, I'm not getting involved. You know why? You guys voted for this. This is what you want. This is what you get. I'm not doing that. Now,
We're gonna have to understand this is
I'm not saying that I don't support. You have the right to protest, but I, as an individual, I'm not getting out there. And I think it's very interesting that, you know, you have people on the show that talks about it. They're not going to get out there and protest, but you're going to sit here and tell other people that they need to get involved. That's a problem for me. Now, I will use my talents. Like I said, if someone needs legal representation or whatever the case may be, I can use my talents that way. But for me, and as far as I know, neither one of my sons plan on going out protesting at all, because it doesn't impact them.
Okay, and we got somebody said we're being honest. He don't work out a Dabo. He don't work out a Dabo. There's no fucking big fucking deal. Okay, whether he work out a Dabo or not, you know, we got that straight. Yeah. As I had lunch today with a retired employee of ICE. He's 82 years old. And he says it's out of control. You know, what can you do about it? You know, a lot of people got concerns, but this is not like I said before on this show. The top 5 and the top 10 issues in the black community, ICE is not one of them. I'm sorry, and I feel bad, and I sympathize with folks that can't send their kids to school, can't go to work, can't be walking down the street with the police and ICE and mass hoodlums. They're a gang. They not a police agency, a law enforcement agency. They are a gang. They just like a gang, like the Bloods and the Crips and the Mexican gangs and all these other gangs that we got in this country that target innocent people. So yeah, the folks in Southwest Detroit got an issue with ICE, and I can see it, but I don't see myself, you know, leading the charge, saying we need to stand tall against ICE coming in here, because we already afraid to send our kids out because of police, because of law enforcement targeting our kid. We got a target. I have a target on my back every day that I go out in the community or get stopped by the police, and you don't reach for your wallet or whatever, because you might not walk out of that car.
Well, I think the reality is that in this community, let's take police aside. You can't get you lay down at night. You don't know whether or not you're going to wake up because some bullets are flying through the air. You can't get out and go to school because you talk about housing insecurity, food insecurity. Those are the ills that we face in the Black community. So using a poem or somebody saying, first it was communism and so on and so forth. Okay, I get that, but that is not going to move me. And it certainly pissed a lot of people off with the media. And I blame the media for this. When you try to incite folks to get involved in something that
you know the real deal. You know what's real fucked up about what's in Minneapolis, and you hear Trump and all these other assholes in DC talking about the fraud by the Somalian community. The mastermind of that 40 million or whatever $1 million fraud in Minneapolis is a white woman. I seen a picture. She is the one she is the one that mastermind all that shit. You don't hear that. You don't hear that. You hear we got to deport all the people that took these millions of dollars. They didn't get shit.
It
You
ain't
know.
no circus. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to be mean. I am compassionate. I have empathy, but no, you're not going to use me for your agenda that does not even include me. So no, we straight on that. And if not, Sean would tell them that. But I will say this: people are. I have to say this because we like to be right on the show. People have said on the show that our guest he said that he works or is affiliated with Dabo. Eric said he also said it. So Adolph, you were right when you thought that that's what you heard.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
so,
that.
agree with you. That's quite interesting because you have Dad and Dabo. And let me say this, Reverend Sheffield has supported a lot of people who run for different offices and that kind of thing. This is the dynamics are very, very interesting. We'll see what happens. Let me ask you this question. I asked the viewers these questions. Did you see the poll the other day where you had Duggan at 26, you had Benson at it was the three: James, Duggan, and Benson. And what did you think about that poll? And then I have a question to ask you about the minister.
Oh well, listen, a poll is a poll, and and we just getting started because somewhere down the line somebody's going to make a mistake, and I don't count the doctor out of the race. I don't. I think he's going to be playing. He's going to get some votes. So now the poll is just another bullshit. If we haven't even got past the nominations, we should be talking about who's ahead. Whether it Mallory McMorrow, and all these other the racists, hey. So that is it's just a poll.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this, and I'm asked the viewers. Did you remember the other week you were talking about the minister over at Perfecting Church and how the lady got in the wrong line? You said you would have slapped the stuffing out of him. You didn't say stuffing, but did you hear the latest now? And I'm gonna make my commentary about this. Listen. We talked about this when we was on 9:10 a.m. station. I recall people calling in, touch not thou anointed. They were really pissed that we talked about how long that building sat over there for years and no progress. When the city decided, when there were some people who decided that they wanted to buy that property, right, and do some things with it, he went down there and begged the city of Detroit, the mayor, so on and so forth. Oh, no, let me keep it. I'm going to do some things. And you saw a little bit of movement. Now you're asking the parishioners to give 1 week's wages, 1 week of your earning to finish this church. You got a whole YouTube commercial. That to me is outrageous, because this is my belief. If the Lord gave you this vision 23 years ago, listen, he don't need your help. That he's going to see it through. But you're asking these same people after you done went and begged, let me keep it. I'm going to do this. Now you're asking people for that. I think it is very selfish. I think it is very short-sighted. I personally have a problem with it in light of the fact that the economy, people can't even buy. I'm a single woman.
But
these, 2 bags.
But they in a cult. I call it a cult. If you're gonna give 1 week of your money to this church, you crazy than a fuck. When he didn't want, you didn't have $2,000, you had $1,200. He didn't want the shit. He embarrassed you in front of the world. The church been standing there. It's been blocking progress in that whole area over there. That's the old Chaldean town where they want to build over there, and he got the rights to. He's supposed to build condos and all this other bullshit that go with the church. And it's been 23 fucking years, 24 years, whatever. And I tell you, somebody needs to take a bulldozer to the city and knock it down, unless he's gonna finish it. I don't see in my lifetime that it's gonna be finished. It's going to be standing there. At least the church in Barcelona, they've been building on it for 150 years. They make money off of it. They still have services in it. It's a beautiful building. They just continue to build. This is a eyesore. Every time they have the golf tournament, they try to hide it. And you go down Woodward and you see it. They're plaqued up, put all kind of wood and stuff around it so you can't see what it is. It is an eyesore. They need to tear it down. And if you go over to where the other church is at, do they have a full house every Sunday?
One of our viewers, Duela, said that she went to go visit, and Duela is timely about everything. I don't know if you want to join, if you want to use the link. But she says that when she got there, they told her that the front seats were for members, that she had to go sit in the back. And I'm like, wow, this sounds like this.
Jim Crow. Jim Crow.
That is crazy. But my question is this, and I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, because I know people who belong to that church. But I'm thinking to myself, how has that church impacted the neighborhood that it's currently in? That's
that used to be
tell us that you
church.
A positive impact in that neighborhood over there. Why are you doing this over here on 7 Mile and Woodward?
Keith Butler abandoned that area. That used to be Word of Faith back in the day. And when they start tearing the houses down and closing the schools up there, he saw the handwriting on the wall and moved out to Southfield. Mm-hmm. And it gave them that church, or sold it to them, whatever the fuck they did. You know what? Why do we let folks like that hold the city hostage? I'm not against a church being there. No, I'm not. But for 23 fucking years.
Right.
It's been 23 fucking years, and they haven't done shit with it. You probably go inside of it. It's like nothing. Nothing is inside of it, but probably some rodents and everything else that took control of the building.
Well, full transparency, I ride past there quite often, and I have seen over the last few years they're making some kind of progress. But I watched the YouTube. But I was just I'm shocked and appalled. And mind you, I'm not a member there, but I'm like, you asking people for a week's worth of wages?
Well, if they want to give the right Reverend a week of that pay, give it to them. I'm gonna start me a church. The church will give me what you got. You know, whatever you got, give it to me. You know, that's what you might as well say. Hey, I'm Reverend Feel Good. Give me what you got. I want all my people coming up here. You had a bad weekend. You're gonna have to double down. You know, this is what churches ain't what it was when I was coming up. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, Mr. Duckett says he's not upset about those people giving to their.
No, I'm not either.
Villages are still trying to build out the district with my tax dollars. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, your final thought. We a couple minutes away. But what's your final thought?
Well, I was going to read a couple more comments. Duela said she had to go to the overflow room and she was there early. Laugh out loud. Kenneth Reed says the church lives on Adolph. They released some photos of the inside.
Okay, it's the inside, huh? Okay.
I saw the YouTube.
Is that really the church? Is that really the inside of that church?
There's no, I mean, there's walls, but there's no seats or anything like that. So I don't know. Miss Sheila says people say let them sing. Let him sing for it. I'm sorry. And Terry McCrimmon says, you sound like the late Reverend Ike. I remember the Reverend Ike. So it is 9:29. And so my final thoughts is this. One, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us on Wednesday evening. You could be doing anything else, but you decide to be a part of the Detroit Black and White family. Two, we're going to ask you to come back on Friday. Join us Friday evening at 8:30. And listen, you can join us in the comment section. You can also use the link. We want to thank you so much for watching the greatest show on these YouTube streets. Okay, Adolph.
I just want everyone to give me their Social Security, their pension, and their 1 week salary for the Black and White. Hopefully, we'll be here. I don't know, 23 years from now. But in all seriousness, please tear down the church. It has to go. We'll be back on Friday. This is Detroit in Black and White. Good night.
Good night.